The restaurant was full that night. Plates clinked, people laughed, and soft music played in the background. Waiters moved quickly between tables, carrying food and drinks. It looked like a normal, happy evening. Then the door opened, and a pregnant woman walked inside. Her name was Maya. She moved slowly, one hand resting gently on her stomach. She looked tired, but her face was calm. The long day had clearly taken her energy, yet she still smiled politely at the hostess. "Table for one, please," she said softly. The hostess looked at her for a moment, then glanced around the crowded restaurant. "You'll have to wait," she replied shortly. Maya nodded. She understood busy places. She stepped aside and waited near the wall. Minutes passed. Other customers walked in after her and were seated before her. Maya noticed, but she said nothing. She simply shifted her weight, trying to stay comfortable. After almost 15 minutes, she walked to a nearby table and gently spoke to a waiter passing by. "Excuse me," she said. "May I please have a glass of water while I wait?" The waiter stopped. His smile disappeared when he looked at her. He sighed as if she had asked for something difficult. "You need to wait like everyone else," he said coldly. Maya blinked, surprised by his tone. "Understand," she replied calmly. "I'm just feeling a little dizzy." The waiter rolled his eyes and walked away without answering. A few people nearby noticed. Some looked uncomfortable, but quickly returned to their meals. No one said anything. Maya slowly sat down on an empty chair near the waiting area. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Her hand rested protectively over her belly. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "It's okay." A few minutes later, the same waiter returned carrying a tray. Maya looked up hopefully. "Sir," she said gently, "could I please have some water now?" The waiter stopped again. This time his face showed clear annoyance. "You people always want special treatment," he muttered under his breath. Maya froze. She was not expecting that. Still, she kept her voice soft. "I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm just thirsty." The waiter laughed, but there was no humor in it. Some customers turned their heads now. The tension in the air was growing. "You should have thought about that before coming here," he snapped. Before Maya could respond, the waiter grabbed a glass from his tray. In one sudden motion, he threw the water toward her. The cold water splashed across her dress and face. The restaurant went silent. Forks stopped moving. Conversations died instantly. Everyone stared. Maya gasped quietly, shocked. Water dripped from her hair and onto the floor. For a moment, she did not move. Her hand immediately went to her stomach, making sure her baby was okay. The waiter stepped back, breathing heavily, as if he had just proved a point. No one laughed. No one clapped. The silence felt heavy and uncomfortable. A woman at a nearby table whispered, "That was too much." Maya slowly stood up. Her eyes were wet, but she did not cry. She did not shout or argue. Instead, she reached for a napkin and gently wiped her face. "It's okay," she said quietly. Her calm reaction confused everyone. The waiter looked almost disappointed that she was not yelling back. The manager finally approached, but instead of apologizing, he frowned. "Ma'am, you're causing a scene," he said. Maya looked at him, surprised. She had not raised her voice even once. "I just wanted water," she replied softly. Some customers began recording with their phones. The moment felt wrong, and everyone knew it. Maya took a slow breath. Then she reached in her bag and pulled out her phone. Her fingers paused for a second before typing a short message. Only 4 words. "I think I need you." She pressed send. Across the restaurant, people whispered, wondering what would happen next. The waiter crossed his arms, still believing he had done nothing wrong. Maya sat down again, quiet and patient, water still soaking into her clothes. Outside, far away, a phone vibrated, and someone very important read her message. Miles away from the restaurant, the night air was filled with the sound of helicopters and shouted commands. A military training exercise was coming to an end. Soldiers moved across the field, tired but focused. Among them stood Captain Daniel Hayes. Daniel was known for staying calm in every situation. His team trusted him because he never lost control, no matter how stressful things became. Years of missions had trained him to stay steady when others panicked. His phone rarely rang during training. Personal calls were even rarer. So when his phone vibrated in his pocket, he almost ignored it. Almost. He stepped aside and checked the screen. The moment he saw Maya's name, his expression changed. She never disturbed him during work unless it was important. He opened the message. "I think I need you." For simple words. But Daniel knew his wife. Maya was strong. She handled problems quietly. If she sent this message, something was wrong. Very wrong. His jaw tightened. The noise around him faded as his mind focused on one thing only, getting to her. One of his teammates noticed the change immediately. "Everything okay, Captain?" Daniel nodded once, already moving toward his gear. "Family matter," he said shortly. No one asked more questions. They knew that tone. Within minutes, Daniel was in his vehicle, driving through the city streets. His hand stayed steady on the wheel, but his thoughts moved fast. Maya was pregnant. She should have been resting at home. Why was she asking for help? He tried calling her, but the call went unanswered. That worried him more. Back at the restaurant, the tension had not disappeared. Maya sat quietly, her wet clothes slowly drying. Some customers avoided looking at her. Others kept watching, waiting for something to happen. The waiter whispered angrily to the manager, pointing toward Maya. The manager sighed, clearly more worried about the attention than what had happened. "You should just leave," the manager told Maya. "You're making other customers uncomfortable." Maya looked at him calmly. "I'm not doing anything," she said softly. A young woman at another table shook her head in disbelief. She had been recording since the moment the water was thrown. The video was already uploading online. Comments were starting to appear within seconds. People were asking questions. People were getting angry. But inside the restaurant, the waiter still acted confident. He laughed with another employee, pretending nothing serious had happened. Maya placed both hands over her stomach again, feeling the baby move. The small movement helped her breathe easier. She whispered gently, "We're okay." Outside, headlights appeared through the restaurant windows. A black SUV slowly pulled into the parking lot. No one inside noticed at first. Daniel stepped out of the vehicle. He did not rush. He walked with controlled steps, his eyes already scanning the building. Years of training made him observe everything. Exits, people, movement. But tonight, he was not thinking like a soldier. He was thinking like a husband. As he approached the entrance, he saw people inside holding their phones up. Some faces looked angry. Others looked nervous. Something bad had happened here. Inside, Maya finally looked toward the door, as if she felt his presence before seeing him. Relief quietly crossed her face for the first time that night. The restaurant door opened. Conversation slowed again as Daniel walked in. He wore simple clothes, nothing that showed his rank or profession. To everyone else, he looked like just another man. The waiter barely glanced at him. Daniel's eyes found Maya immediately. He saw the wet marks on her dress, the tired look on her face, the way she held her stomach protectively. And in that moment, the calm expression he always carried became something colder. He walked toward her slowly. The room felt heavier with every step. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. Maya nodded, but her eyes said more than words could. Across the room, the waiter smirked, still unaware of who had just entered. And outside, the video of the incident continued to spread, faster than anyone inside the restaurant could imagine. The restaurant felt different the moment Daniel walked in. The noise did not stop completely, but became quieter, uncertain. People watched without pretending anymore. Everyone felt that something important was about to happen. Daniel stood beside Maya's chair. Up close, he could see the water stains clearly. Her hair was still slightly wet. His eyes moved slowly across the room, taking everything in, the staring customers, the nervous manager, and the waiter who still looked annoyed instead of sorry. But Daniel did not raise his voice. He gently pulled a chair closer and sat beside Maya. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly. Maya shook her head. "No, I am okay." Her voice was calm, but Daniel noticed the small tremble in her hands. He placed his hand over hers for a moment, steady and reassuring. Maya relaxed slightly. Across the room, the waiter whispered something to another employee and laughed. He clearly believed the situation was over. Daniel stood up slowly and walked toward the manager. "I'd like to know what happened," he said. His voice was quiet but firm. the kind of voice that expected an answer. The manager forced a fake smile. "Sir, it was just a misunderstanding. Your wife was being difficult, and our staff reacted." Several customers immediately looked shocked. One woman muttered, "That's not true." Daniel's eyes stayed on the manager. "Water was thrown on her," he said calmly. "That's not a misunderstanding." The waiter stepped forward defensive. "She kept asking for special treatment," he said loudly. "We're busy. People like her always think rules don't apply to them." The words hung heavily in the air. Maya lowered her eyes, but Daniel did not react with anger. Instead, he simply watched the waiter for a long moment. His silence made the waiter uncomfortable. At a nearby table, a phone notification sound rang out. Someone whispered, "The video is everywhere now." More phones lit up around the room. People were watching the clip again. The moment the water was thrown, the silence after, Maya standing there without fighting back. Online, thousands of people were already sharing it. Inside the restaurant, the manager's phone began ringing again and again. He answered quickly, stepping aside. His face changed as he listened. Yes, sir. I understand," he said nervously. When he ended the call, his confidence was gone. Sweat appeared on his forehead. He looked at Daniel differently now, as if realizing the situation was much bigger than he thought. Daniel returned to Maya's side. He knelt slightly so he could look at her face. "You sure you're okay?" he asked again. Maya nodded. "I just want to go home." Before Daniel could respond, the manager rushed back toward them. His attitude had completely changed. "Sir, ma'am, we deeply apologize," he said quickly. "This was unacceptable. Dinner is on the house. We can fix this." The sudden change confused some customers. Just minutes ago, the manager had blamed Maya. Daniel stood up slowly. "This isn't about free food," he said. The waiter scoffed quietly, still not understanding the seriousness of the moment. "Why is everyone acting like this is such a big deal?" At that moment, another customer spoke up. "Because you humiliated a pregnant woman," she said sharply. The waiter opened his mouth to argue, but stopped when he noticed more people staring at him with disapproval. Outside, another black vehicle pulled into the parking lot. A local news reporter had already arrived after seeing the viral video. Inside, the manager's phone rang again. This time, he answered and listened silently. His face lost all color. "Yes, he's here," the manager said slowly, glancing at Daniel. When the call ended, he swallowed hard. "Sir," he said carefully, "are you Captain Daniel Hayes?" The room went completely silent. The waiter frowned, confused. The name meant nothing to him, but several customers recognized it immediately. Whispers spread across the tables. Daniel did not look proud or angry. He simply nodded once. "I'm her husband," he said. The realization hit the room all at once. The man they had treated like an ordinary customer was a respected Navy SEAL captain, someone known for leadership and discipline. The waiter's confidence finally began to crack. But Daniel still did not shout. He did not threaten anyone. His calmness made the moment even heavier. Maya gently touched his arm. "Let's just leave," she whispered. Daniel nodded, ready to take her home. But as they turned toward the door, flashes of cameras appeared outside the windows. The story was no longer staying inside the restaurant. And for the first time, the waiter realized that this night was about to change his life forever. The moment Daniel and Maya turned toward the exit, the restaurant doors opened again. Bright camera lights flashed through the windows. A reporter stepped inside, followed by a cameraman. The quiet tension in the room instantly turned into nervous chaos. Customers whispered to each other. Some stood up to watch. Others quickly checked their phones again. The video had spread far beyond the restaurant now. Thousands of comments were appearing every minute. The manager's face looked pale. He wiped sweat from his forehead, realizing the situation was no longer under his control. "Sir, please," the manager said, rushing toward Daniel. "Let's talk privately. We can fix this." Daniel stopped walking, but he did not turn around immediately. He looked at Maya first. She looked tired. The night had clearly drained her energy. He could see she just wanted peace. Still, he faced the manager calmly. "There's time to fix it earlier," Daniel said quietly. His voice was not angry. That made it worse. The manager had expected shouting, maybe threats. Instead, Daniel spoke with calm disappointment. Behind them, the waiter stood frozen. The confidence he showed earlier had disappeared. He watched as cameras pointed toward the scene, realizing people everywhere were now watching what he had done. One of the reporters spoke carefully. "Sir, is it true your wife was assaulted here tonight?" Daniel did not answer right away. He looked at Maya again, silently asking her what she wanted. Maya shook her head slightly. She did not want attention. Daniel turned back to the reporter. "My wife just wanted water," he said simply. "That's all." The words spread through the room like a heavy truth. No dramatic speech. No anger. Just a simple sentence that made everything clearer. Several customers nodded quietly. They had seen it happen. The manager quickly stepped in. "We deeply apologize," he repeated. "This does not represent our values." But even as he spoke, another employee showed him a phone screen. Online reviews were already dropping. Angry comments filled the restaurant's social pages. People were demanding accountability. The owner of the restaurant was now calling nonstop. The waiter finally stepped forward, his voice unsteady. "I didn't know who she was," he said, almost defending himself. Daniel looked at him calmly. "That shouldn't matter," he replied. The waiter had no answer. For the first time, he understood the real problem. It wasn't about who Maya's husband was. It was about how he had treated her when he thought she was just another customer. Maya slowly stood up. She placed one hand on her back, feeling the strain of the long evening. The room watched her carefully now, not with judgment, but with sympathy. "I don't want anyone fired because of me," she said softly. The manager looked surprised. The reporter lowered her microphone slightly. No one expected that response. Maya continued, her voice calm but strong. "I just didn't want to be treated like I didn't matter." Her words made several people look down in embarrassment. Daniel placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. He was proud of her strength, but he could see she was exhausted. Outside, more people gathered. Some recognized Daniel. Others came because they had seen the viral video. The situation was growing bigger by the minute. The manager's phone rang again. This time, he answered quickly and listened without speaking. After a few seconds, he nodded repeatedly. "Yes, sir. I understand," he said. When the call ended, he turned toward the waiter. His expression was serious now. "Go to the back," he said quietly. The waiter hesitated, realizing what that meant. His face fell as he slowly walked away, no longer arguing. Daniel watched silently. He did not look satisfied. This was never about punishment for him. As Maya and Daniel finally stepped toward the door again, Maya paused. She looked back at the restaurant one last time. "This isn't just about us anymore," she said quietly. Daniel understood what she meant. The video, the attention, the conversation, it had become something bigger. People were talking about respect, about how easily someone could be humiliated. Outside, camera lights followed them as they left. Daniel opened the car door carefully for Maya, helping her sit inside. As the door closed, Maya let out a long breath she had been holding all night. Inside the restaurant, employees whispered nervously. The manager stared at his phone, watching the numbers climb. Views, shares, comments. The consequences had only just begun. And by morning, the entire city would know what happened inside that restaurant. By the next morning, the video was everywhere. News channels replayed the moment again and again. The pregnant woman standing quietly, the water thrown at her, the silence that followed. Social media was filled with angry comments. People were not just talking about one restaurant anymore. They were talking about respect, fairness, and how easily someone could be treated badly for no reason. Maya woke up early, the sunlight coming softly through the window. For a moment, everything felt normal. Then her phone started buzzing. Messages, calls, notifications. She sighed quietly. She had never wanted attention. She only wanted to go home that night and forget what happened. Daniel walked into the room with 2 cups of tea. He could already see the worry on her face. "You don't have to read any of it," he said gently. Maya nodded, but she knew ignoring it would not make it disappear. The story had grown too big. On television, reporters stood outside the restaurant. Former employees were speaking anonymously, saying this was not the first complaint about unfair treatment. Old reviews began to surface. Stories from other customers appeared online. The restaurant owner released a public apology, promising an investigation and new staff training. But people wanted more than words. Meanwhile, the waiter sat alone in his small apartment, staring at his phone. His face looked tired, different from the confident man in the restaurant the night before. His name was now known online. Messages filled with anger and criticism kept appearing. For the first time, he watched the video from beginning to end. He saw Maya standing quietly. He heard his own voice. He watched himself throw the water. And for the first time, he felt ashamed. Back at home, Maya turned off the television. She placed a hand on her stomach, feeling the baby move. The small movement reminded her what truly mattered. "I don't want this to turn into hate," she said softly. Daniel sat beside her. "Then tell them that," he replied. Later that afternoon, Maya agreed to give a short public statement. No drama, no anger, just her truth. Cameras gathered outside their home, but Maya's voice stayed calm. "I'm not asking people to attack anyone," she said. "I just want people to remember that kindness costs nothing. Everyone deserves respect." Her words surprised many people. Instead of fueling anger, she spoke about dignity and understanding. The video of her statement spread almost as fast as the original incident. Comments began to change. People called her strong. Some said her calm reaction taught a bigger lesson than any punishment could. Inside the restaurant, things were very different. Business had slowed down. The manager looked exhausted as he dealt with calls and complaints. Staff members moved quietly, aware that everything was being watched now. The waiter finally returned to speak with the manager. His shoulders were slumped, his confidence gone. "I messed up," he admitted quietly. The manager did not argue. There was nothing left to say. Later that evening, an unexpected message arrived on Maya's phone. It was from the restaurant management. The waiter wanted to apologize personally. Maya stared at the message for a long time. Part of her wanted to refuse. The memory of the humiliation still hurt. But another part of her wondered if facing the truth might help everyone move forward. Daniel watched her silently. He would support whatever decision she made. "What do you think?" he asked. Maya took a slow breath. "People don't change if no one gives them a chance," she said. She agreed to meet, privately, without cameras. But as she stood up, a sudden sharp discomfort crossed her face. She held her side for a moment, breathing slowly. Daniel noticed immediately. "Are you okay?" Maya nodded, though her expression showed concern. "Just tired," she said. Still, Daniel stayed close, his instinct alert. Outside, the world continued discussing the story. Some demanded punishment. Others praised forgiveness. The situation had become bigger than one mistake, bigger than one night. And as Maya prepared to meet the man who had humiliated her, neither of them knew that the next conversation would change everything again. The meeting was arranged for the next evening. No cameras, no reporters. Just a quiet room inside a small community office near the restaurant. Maya wanted it that way. She did not want another public moment. She wanted honesty. Daniel walked beside her as they entered the building. His eyes moved around the room automatically, careful and alert, but his attention stayed mostly on Maya. She still looked tired, and he could tell the past 2 days had taken a lot from her. "You don't have to do this," he reminded her softly. Maya gave a small smile. "I know," she said, "but I want to—" Inside the room, the waiter was already there. He stood up quickly when they entered. He looked very different now. His shoulders were tense, his eyes tired, as if he had not slept much. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence felt heavy. Finally, the waiter looked at Maya. His voice was quiet, almost unsure. "I'm sorry," he said. The words came out quickly, but this time there was no anger behind them, only regret. Maya watched him carefully. She did not respond immediately. "I watched the video," he continued. "I didn't realize how bad it looked, how bad I was." He swallowed hard. "I treated you unfairly, and I can't take that back." Daniel stood slightly behind Maya, saying nothing. This was her moment. The waiter continued speaking, his voice shaking slightly. "I thought you were being difficult. I made assumptions. I didn't see you as a person who needed help. I just reacted." Maya's expression softened a little, but the memory still hurt. She remembered the cold water, the silence, the feeling of being judged without reason. Why? She asked quietly. The waiter hesitated. The question seemed harder than the apology. I grew up hearing things, he admitted slowly. Wrong things. I never questioned them. That night, I acted on those thoughts without thinking. The room became quiet again. Maya nodded slowly. She appreciated the honesty, even if it was painful to hear. An apology matters, she said calmly. But understanding why it happened matters more. The waiter lowered his head. I know. Daniel finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. Mistakes have consequences. What matters now is what you do next. The waiter nodded quickly. I want to change. I really do. Maya studied his face. She could see fear there, but also something real, shame, and maybe the beginning of understanding. After a long moment, she spoke again. I forgive you, she said softly. But forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. You have to learn from it. The waiter's eyes filled with relief. He nodded again, unable to speak for a moment. The tension in the room eased slightly. For the first time since the incident, it felt like something was finally closing. But as Maya stood up, a sudden sharp pain crossed her face. She grabbed the edge of the table, breathing deeply. Daniel moved instantly. Maya, she tried to smile, but another wave of discomfort hit her. Her hand went to her stomach. I think something's wrong, she whispered. Daniel's calm military training returned immediately. He supported her carefully, helping her sit down again. The waiter stepped back, shocked and worried. Call an ambulance, Daniel said firmly. Minutes felt like hours as they waited. Maya focused on breathing while Daniel stayed beside her, holding her hand. Fear replaced the calm that had filled the room moments earlier. This wasn't supposed to happen yet, Maya said quietly. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. It's okay. We're going to the hospital. The waiter stood silently in the corner, realizing how quickly life could change. The woman he had humiliated was now in pain, and all he could do was hope she would be okay. Outside, sirens grew louder. As paramedics rushed inside, Daniel helped Maya onto the stretcher, never leaving her side. The apology meeting was forgotten. Nothing mattered now except her and the baby. As the ambulance doors closed, Daniel climbed in beside her. And for the first time since that night in the restaurant, real fear showed on his face. Because this story was no longer about justice or consequences. Now, it was about whether everything would be okay. The hospital hallway felt endless. Bright white lights stretched above as nurses moved quickly past. The sound of machines and distant voices filled the air. Daniel walked beside the stretcher, holding Maya's hand as doctors rushed her toward the delivery room. Everything had happened so fast. One moment they were talking calmly. The next moment fear had taken over. Maya tried to stay calm, breathing the way the nurse instructed. Daniel stayed close, his steady presence helping her focus. He had faced dangerous missions before, but this felt different. This time, he could not control anything. All he could do was wait. Hours passed slowly. Daniel sat outside the delivery room, his hands clasped together. For the first time in a long time, he felt helpless. His mind replayed the last few days, the restaurant, the humiliation, the viral video, the apology meeting. None of it mattered now. Only Maya and the baby mattered. Finally, the door opened. A doctor stepped out with a tired but gentle smile. Congratulations, Captain, she said. Your wife and baby are both healthy. Daniel let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Relief washed over him. He thanked the doctor and quickly entered the room. Maya lay in a hospital bed, exhausted but smiling softly. In her arms was their newborn baby. The small child slept peacefully, unaware of everything that had happened before entering the world. Daniel stepped closer, his eyes softening as he looked at them. You did amazing, he whispered. Maya smiled. We did. For a moment, the world outside disappeared. No cameras. No news. Just a family together. But outside the hospital, the story continued to grow. News outlets reported the update, shifting the focus from anger to hope. Many people spoke about Maya's strength, not just for what she endured, but for how she responded. The restaurant owner announced major changes. New policies were introduced. Staff training focused on respect and equal treatment for every customer. The incident had forced a conversation that many people realized was long overdue. The waiter also changed. After the apology, he accepted responsibility publicly. Instead of defending himself, he admitted his mistake. He began volunteering in community programs, helping serve meals, and working with local groups that promoted understanding and respect. It was not easy. Many people still judged him. But slowly, he tried to prove that people could learn from their worst moments. Weeks later, Maya and Daniel returned home with their baby. Life became quieter again. Late nights, soft crying, and small smiles replaced the chaos of the past days. One evening, Maya watched the sunset from the window while holding her child. Daniel stood beside her. "Do you regret going back to meet him?" Daniel asked gently. Maya shook her head. "No," she said. "If people never face what they did, nothing changes." Daniel nodded. He understood. Strength was not always loud. Sometimes it was quiet patience. The story slowly faded from headlines, but its message remained. Many people remembered the moment not because of the anger, but because of how it ended, with accountability, forgiveness, and growth. One night, as Maya placed the baby in the crib, she paused for a moment, watching the child sleep peacefully. So much had started with a moment of disrespect, but it ended with something stronger. Respect learned, lessons understood, lives changed, and somewhere, people who watched the story realized something important. Real strength is not shown in power or revenge. It is shown in how someone chooses dignity when the world expects anger. And that was the lesson everyone carried forward long after the night the restaurant went silent.